The storylines are set. The celebrities are set. You know, it's time to go home. We had our go home episode of SmackDown tonight, and so it's all set, right? WrestleMania 42 is going to kick off tomorrow night, and there's nothing else left to talk about. It's time to get the show going tonight on SmackDown. Bunch of promos, had the Andre Battle Royal, but we just want to talk about our predictions, right? I got my predictions right here. I got my whole card. I went through the whole card. We're gonna talk about who's gonna win, who's gonna lose, and then we're gonna come back. We're gonna answer. We're gonna be accountable for these predictions. Don't mind the mess in the background, by the way. I'm actually wrapping up my vacation, and I'm headed home. Getting on a flight early tomorrow. Heading home. I'll be home in time for WrestleMania. But for now, let's talk about these matches. All right, let's talk about these matches. So I want to say one thing though, right? As fans, we spent a lot of time complaining and whining about the bill for WrestleMania. And yeah, I would agree. A lot of the week to week television hasn't been good. A lot of the week to week television has not created this huge amount of anticipation for these matches. But when you take a step back and you just look at these cards, this is a pretty good card. This is a pretty good card. I think there's a high possibility that we're going to end up with one of, if not the most entertaining WrestleMania that we've had in a very long time. So let's get into these cards. All right. So night one is going to open up with the Usos and LA Knight taking on the Vision and IShowSpeed. Now, this one was tricky. Because they don't usually bring in celebrities to lose, right? They usually bring in celebrities to win. But they also are kind of telling a story with IShowSpeed where he doesn't really want to be involved with the Vision. They're kind of, making him, they're kind of dragging him along, right? So I could see them doing something where where Speed, kind of abandons Logan Paul and Austin Theory and leaves them to, lose their match. Plus, on the other side of this match, you got Jey Uso, whose entrance they love, right? Jey Uso is going to be a big deal. It's going to be early in the show. ESPN wants to see the whole crowd doing the yeet and like all of that. And you would think they want to give Jey Uso a big moment. Also, they got LA Knight, who never seems to win anything. So you would think they would want to give LA Knight a moment. You would think. You would think. So I'm not going to lie. This is not a lock. This doesn't feel like a lock of a pick. But for match one, I'm picking the Usos and LA Knight to beat the Vision IShowSpeed. Like I said, I think it's going to be a thing where, Speed is going to just break free from Logan Paul and Austin Theory at some point during the match. And he's going to leave them hanging. And, they're going to turn around and, get the 1D or the BFT or something and end the match like that. So I got the Usos and LA Knight going over in match one. All right, match two. And I almost can't even believe that they're putting this on ESPN2 for the kind of preview show. Is going to be Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre in the unsanctioned match. Now, this one is, I think, going to be crazy. Shout out to Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre makes something out of whatever they give him. They have put Drew McIntyre with anybody and everybody, and he still manages to make it interesting, right? Like, because he's such an evil bad guy, right? He's such an evil bad guy, whether he's working with CM Punk or Cody Rhodes, and he's such a good villain that it doesn't even matter if he loses, because we saw him against Cody Rhodes, right? He lost to Cody like 4 or 5 times, just like over and over and over, to the point where I was like, bro, are they still doing Drew versus Cody? But when he won, nothing was lost. Like, nothing was lost, because he kept coming at Cody, and he was so evil. And by the time he actually beat Cody, you still wanted to see Drew lose again, because he was just such a jerk. So him and Jacob Fatu, this has been, I think, great. It's just two dudes who are ass kickers. And I think Jacob Fatu is on a huge trajectory going forward. I think they want to start giving him some big wins. I think they want to put him in some spots where he's, facing and beating some big time opponents. And this will obviously start with a big win at WrestleMania against Drew McIntyre. So I got Jacob Fatu going over Drew McIntyre in the second match of the kickoff show. All right. And so now getting to the proper card. We got the women's tag team titles, which is going to be Nia and Lash versus the Bella Twins versus Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair versus Lyra and Bailey. Now, I've been back and forth about this, okay? Because Lyra and Bailey both never win anything. They never seem to win anything. Charlotte and Bliss have already been the champions. I thought the Bella Twins were probably going to win this one, but Nikki Bella is hurt, and the rumor is that Paige has been re-signed by WWE and that she's actually going to take Nikki Bella's place. She's going to be Brie Bella's partner for the tag team match at WrestleMania. I don't think they're going to put the tag titles on a hodgepodge tag team, of two people who just aren't going to be a team in the future. And I would like to see Nia and Lash get a win here, but I think the win is actually going to go to Bailey and Lyra. I think Bailey and Lyra are going to surprise everybody because, like I said, they never seem to win anything. But I think they're going to win this. WWE has shown in the past that whoever they give those women's tag team titles to doesn't necessarily mean that they got any plans for you, right? They gave those titles to Sasha and Naomi, and we saw how that worked out. They gave them to Sasha and Bailey. We saw how that worked out. So getting those titles does not necessarily mean that they got any big plans for you. And so, yeah, my pick here, I originally circled Charlotte and Bliss, but I'm changing my pick. I'm going with Lyra and Bailey for the surprise win of the women's tag team titles. All right, then we got the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Becky Lynch challenging AJ Lee. AJ has dominated Becky Lynch since she's come back. Becky hasn't even gotten close. I think that changes at WrestleMania. I think Becky's going to get the win. And, AJ came back, said that she was going to be working a full-time schedule, that she wanted to work with everybody. And she really hasn't been doing that, right? Since AJ Lee came back, she's been here and there. And she's really only been working with Becky Lynch. I don't know if that means she's not really planning to be wrestling as much as she originally intended to. I'm not sure what that means, but I think Becky gets the title back here. I think putting the title on Becky it makes it more visible because Becky's just, she's just more of a feature player. She does more with it, kind of like Drew McIntyre, right? When you put Becky with anybody, she's going to make it hot because she's just good at that. So I got Becky going over AJ Lee here. Gunther versus Seth Rollins. I hate it. Seth Rollins is that dude who's so good that they always put him with whoever they're trying to get over, whoever they're trying to make hot, because he's good enough to, make anybody look good. I saw a clip of an interview with John Cena, which, by the way, shout out to WWE for the pre-WrestleMania content dump that they did these past couple of days. WWE has flooded social media with all types of exclusive interviews and appearances on all these shows, just really hyping up WrestleMania. And you're just seeing like all these pieces of information that maybe you wouldn't have seen otherwise. But John Cena was being interviewed by The Ringer, and Bill Simmons asked John Cena about who his best opponents were, who's the best wrestlers he's been in the ring with, and he said it was Shawn Michaels and Seth Rollins. And so you can't get a better endorsement than that. And by the way, John Cena's been in the ring with Gunther. So Shawn Michaels been in the ring with both of these. John Cena's been in the ring with Gunther. So if John Cena's been in the ring with Gunther and he's been in the ring with Seth Rollins, and he said Seth Rollins is among the best wrestlers he's ever worked with, that's no slight to Gunther. No slight to Gunther, but Seth Rollins is really one of the best ever. And I think sometimes he doesn't get the proper credit. That said, because Seth is so good, they always want to make other people look good. And so I think Seth is going to be putting Gunther over here. I think Seth is entering that phase of his career where Randy Orton was about 10 years ago, where he already kind of had his time where he was like the top guy. And now he's like an established top guy, but still that top guy that puts other new guys over. And so, I kind of hate that for Seth, but it is what it is. I got Gunther beating Seth here. Plus, they also hinted at, Gunther's going to want something from Seth Rollins and from Paul Heyman in the future. And, I've heard some theories that could mean that Gunther is going to want a match with Brock Lesnar. He's going to want to be the one to retire Brock Lesnar, right? Because this whole career killer thing, and it's rumored that maybe Brock might want to, bow out soon. Although, I doubt it. All right. We got the women's world title. Stephanie Vaquer versus Liv Morgan. I hate it. I hate it for Stephanie. Stephanie is she's one of the top 5 wrestlers in the world. She's so good. But I think this is Liv Morgan's moment. I think they had Liv Morgan win the Royal Rumble, which she hadn't. She came close a couple times. They had her in that Final Four for a couple years in a row. And they finally let her break through. And I think the story they're telling here is that this is Liv's moment. Now, I could see them doing something where Raquel Rodriguez actually cost Liv the title because Liv eliminated her from the Royal Rumble. And that starts a feud between Raquel and Liv. But I think even if they did that, that would kind of cut the legs out of Stephanie Vaquer winning. I think Liv and Stephanie Vaquer have had some of the least time to build to their match. And they probably maximized that little bit of time more so than anybody else. And all that so that Liv could get the title. I think Liv Morgan's getting the championship here. I hate that for Stephanie Vaquer, but I think it's Liv's time. And in the main event of night 1, we got Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton with Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee has said that if Randy Orton doesn't beat Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, then we'll never see him again. I do not believe that we're never going to see Pat McAfee again. So I think Randy Orton's winning. I think Randy Orton is winning. And also, an interesting thing I noticed that CM Punk and Cody Rhodes have both kind of been doing. Cody Rhodes has really kind of had the boo-boo face in his promotion of this match, especially every time he talks about Pat McAfee. It reminds me of the way that Cody looked when he had to come out after the Royal Rumble and tell The Rock that he could have his spot to face Roman at WrestleMania. How he just had this sad puppy dog look on his face. Cody hasn't had that exact look on his face, but he's just kind of been like, he seemed a little bit of a bummer. You get the feeling that he kind of knows what the plan is potentially for him to, lose at WrestleMania. I could be wrong. Same thing with CM Punk, though. CM Punk has been doing a lot of talking about how, he'll be there for the fans no matter what. He's a fighting champion, blah, 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 blah. And you get the feeling that he's campaigning a little bit. He's campaigning a little bit for why he should be the one to win at WrestleMania. So that's an interesting thing to keep an eye on there. So I got Randy Orton winning the main event at the end of night one. And now let's go to night two. So night two is going to open with Obafemi versus Brock Lesnar. This is probably the most interesting thing, the most anticipated thing. Yeah, this could be one of the most anticipated things on the whole show. But the thing I don't like about it is that Oba has gotten the upper hand on Brock every single time they've gotten together. And in my opinion, that does not bode well for Oba at WrestleMania. Like the way WWE typically does things, whoever's the last person to get the upper hand usually loses at the pay-per-view. And Oba's got an upper hand almost all the time when him and Brock have been together. So I feel like Brock's going to be the one to win at WrestleMania. But I don't love that because I feel like if Obafemi's like your new guy, it makes sense to give him a huge win over an iconic wrestler at his first WrestleMania. But I think they're going to give it to Brock. So I got Brock going over Oba in the pre-show, and then the second match of the pre-show is going to be a ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship with Penta versus JD McDonough versus Rey Mysterio versus Rusev versus who else is up? Dragon Lee and Javon Evans. All right. This match is going to be a bunch of flips, a bunch of craziness, a bunch of car crashes. I got Penta. Penta's got like one of the coolest entrances in all of WWE. People like Penta. Penta is a very good promo, even though his English isn't great. He just oozes like cool in a way that not a lot of people do. So I got Penta retaining the Intercontinental title in the ladder match. All right, then get into the proper card. We got Sami Zayn defending the U.S. Championship against Trick Williams, I believe, with Little Yachty in his corner. And I think this is all about Trick. I think they put that title on Sami just so they could get it on Trick. And I do get the feeling that we are trending towards a double turn. I think they're going to do something where, Sammy's complaining and yada, yada, yada. And then, at the end, Sammy's going to lose. And they'll probably attack Trick after the match or something like that, solidifying Sammy as a heel and, turning Trick into a babyface. I don't like the idea of Trick Williams as a babyface. I think Trick Williams is a good trash talking heel. And I think people like that, right? Like that's why people love The Rock, right? That's why people like the NWO because they were bad guys, but they were cool. And that's okay. You can be a bad guy and still be cool. Like that's fine. You know what I mean? WWE tries to manufacture cool and they never get it right. They never get it right, right? It's not when they try to tell you who and what is cool, it never works. It never works. So when you got somebody who's cool, just let him be cool and let Trick do the underhanded things. Let him talk trash and then smack people and run away. Like all the cool things that he does, just let him be Trick. Let Trick be Trick. Let Trick be Trick. And it's fine. It works. It works. It works. Just go with that. But I got Trick winning in the opener of the main card. Then we got Jade Cargill versus Rhea Ripley. I think this is going to be a sneaky good match. I think Rhea has lost a bunch of weight trying to condition herself for a match in which she thinks she's going to have to carry Jade Cargill to some sort of super spectacular match. And we'll see how it goes, right? We'll see how it goes. I don't think it has to be that. You know what I mean? I don't think you got to do. I really loved Goldberg versus Hogan. I think that match lasted 5 minutes, right? Like, there's a lot of great matches that don't got to be these marathon, 100 kickouts, 1,000 finishers. They don't all got to be that. But on these, 4 or 5 match cards, it does kind of force you to have a longer match. I don't think that's Jade's game. I wouldn't put her in a match like that, but they are. And I think that Rhea is feeling the pressure of having to try and carry a match like that. So we'll see how it goes. But I got Rhea winning. I got Rhea winning. Um, I think she's gonna drag Jade out into deep water. But like, listen, when you're a wrestler, it doesn't do you any good to make your opponent look bad, right? Like, if your opponent is in there looking bad, you're still a part of a bad match, right? It's like no wrestler wants to be a part of a bad match. The fans gonna say what the fans gonna say no matter what. But I think every wrestler wants to go out there and be a part of a great match. And it doesn't do you any good if your partner's in there falling all over their face because, again, you're still in there in a match that people will remember for being bad. And nobody wants that. So hopefully they find a way to put something together that's going to be good. Rhea has been a part of some bangers, right? Her match with Charlotte at WrestleMania 39, her match with Io and Bianca at last year's WrestleMania. Um, yeah, so I think that match is going to be good. I think they'll figure something out, and I got Rhea going over in that one. We got the Demon Finn Balor versus Dirty Dom. I think Dirty Dom's the winner there. Finn's just a guy that they don't ever let win. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are day one fans of Finn, but I think Dom is the future. You know, right? Like Dom is like a key player in AAA, and they love him over there. He gets a huge reaction. He's a super duper heel. People love that dude with good reason, right? With good reason. Like Dom gets it. You know what I mean? He gets it and he understands it, and he's got it. You know what I mean? He gets a great reaction from the crowd. So I think Dom's going to win here. And I think this will be like kind of a showcase match for him. I think actually looking back at like Dom's trajectory, you know what I mean? If you look back to when he first came up to the main roster and just the way he slowly progressed and little by little become, like before when he was first in his Judgment Day, he didn't do anything. He would hang in the back, just get booed, whatever. Then he would come out a little more. He would just interfere in matches, like now he's the feature player. And like the development has been really, really, really cool to see. And so I think this will be Dom's first big WrestleMania moment. I think this will be Dom's first big WrestleMania win. I got Dom going over Finn in that match. And then we got the main event of night 2. It's going to be CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. And listen, the build to this, I think it started off really hot. I think, a lot of people thought it kind of lost some steam. You're not going to get a great promo every single week, but I thought they did the best they could, especially considering a lot of weeks CM Punk had to do all the lifting for this on his own. And we're here now, and the match feels like a big deal. The match feels like a big deal. This feels like a match where there's some professional jealousy. It feels like a match where there is some personal animosity. It also feels like a match where, these two are very professional. They're very professional. And like, as much as they might act like they hate each other, like these two want to go out there and put on a great match. They want to put on a great match. They want to put on, it's the main event of the weekend, right? This is the last thing people are going to see before they leave WrestleMania 42. And so, I think we're in for a good match. I think there'll be drama. I think this match will end with the original bloodline reuniting. I think Jimmy and Jay will come out, maybe even solo, and I think that they're going to put the bloodline back together. I believe that fans have started to push back on ticket prices. And fans have started to push back on creative. And I think that TKO has said, hey, Roman, we're paying you a lot of money. And you've been walking around bragging about how we pay you a lot of money. Think it's time to come to work, pal. Think it's time to come to work. And I think because of that, I think they're pulling Roman off the bench. I think they're pulling Roman out the bullpen. And I think Roman's going to have to start making a few more appearances. And I think he's going to make those appearances as the World Heavyweight Champion. I think night 2 ends with the reformation of the OG bloodline, and we're going to get Roman and Jimmy and Jay working together to take down CM Punk in the main event of night 2 of WrestleMania. So those are my predictions. Let's see how the show plays out. Maybe I'll come back at the end of night 1 with a little review of how it went. Maybe I'll come back at the end of night 2 with a little review of how it went. But drop your comments. Let me know what you think. You think these were, you think these predictions are on track? Is it the same thing you're thinking? Let me know. But talk to y'all soon. And most importantly, let's enjoy WrestleMania. Let's enjoy the show. And let's do it. Let's do it all together, man. I think we're in for a good time.